making some progress here. As you can see, I've painted all the welding here with that anti-corrosive base paint on the other side as well, of course. So this is all protected. It shouldn't rust from now on. Here, these parts I also covered in that anti-corrosion thing. So now, before I start packing these side parts together, I want to replace these parts here on both sides, because these were very rusty, you know. Of course, here comes the wheel and just keeps wetting this surface and filling it with dust and dirt and whatnot. So yeah, I want to replace these parts with stainless as well. As you can see, I've already cut a little bit out. But the important part here is that I keep this shape, you know. If I were to just cut this all off and start putting it together, I would be having trouble, you know, tracing this original shape. Of course, I want to keep this in exact original position. I've actually traced down this line and made this part here. This will come fitted like so. As you can see, I've also made it that it touches this part here. I will just be fitting this, and then once this is in place, in exact place of this edge here, I will be cutting this all off and then start building it from the inside here. Alright, making some more progress here. I actually managed to put together these pieces here, which turned out absolutely great, if I say so myself. I thought those would be pretty tedious and quite difficult task, but you know, step by step, I just kept building from inside out, and yeah, here we are. Also on the other side as well, of course. Nice, huh? Then I've also reinforced this inner side here. As you can see, I've used this L profile kind of looking thing to really reinforce the whole thing. This is all one piece, and as you see here, I've actually fixed it to the remaining bits of these pieces of the chassis. Here I've actually, of course, ground the welds, you know, no point of them being too fat all the way. As you can see here, I actually had to extend it a little. And yeah, this is really nice and sturdy. This is actually quite stronger than the original structure, which I was actually aiming for, of course. Let alone those few kilos we'll be gaining here. That's really not a problem, you know. As a matter of fact, this weight gain is quite low and it won't affect the vehicle balance by any means. I've also welded it along this line here, and this is actually finished as far as the inner structure goes. Here, all I have to do is just close this off. I will have to bend a long piece here along this edge and then just weld it along this line. Here it is a little bent, but I will be sorting that out as well, so it will be straight as an arrow. However, now I'm dealing with this side. I can show you now how I actually went about this, fixing the inner structure. I've already cut this a little, but as you can see, this isn't perfectly straight. So what I do is I just spot welded it here on a couple of points, and then I will just mark this where there is literally no space in between to get those places here where the space is kind of too large, you know, to weld in between here, closer to the vehicle chassis. So yeah, now I've marked it. I will just grind those spot welds away, then adapt it, and then put it back on to see what exactly I've achieved. Okay, let's go. Here's how it looks like, and yeah, I will just get rid of those orange marked spots here, and this should fit quite alright then. Alright, so carrying on with the project, we got some more progress done here. As you can see, I've actually closed off this side already. What I did is, of course, I just took those bent pieces here and then just trimmed it just slightly, you know, so I got rid of all the gaps that were too big, you know, to weld. Other than that, yeah, it was pretty close, and you see it's pretty nice and straight. Of course, I do have to weld this here in between and on the bottom side as well, but I have to say I'm pretty glad with how this is turning out. Right now I'm doing the other side. I'm just slightly trimming this edge here, and then I will just put this here on this side, of course, and then I just tack weld this in a couple of spots, and then I just push it upwards so I get the trace of the upper side, you know, this exact shape of that piece. Then I will go ahead and scribe around it with a screwdriver or something, and then just cut away as precisely as I can. And then, yeah, quite self-explanatory. I will just tack weld it all around. Of course, I will just clean that edge. I get this color off so I can weld it on a nice clean metal. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just a couple of spot welds around, and then go ahead and gradually weld it around and around. So yeah, let's carry on then. Alright, so we got our other piece here in place. As you can see, I just do a butt weld every couple of centimeters to prevent it from bending or anything, you know. So now I'm actually going to weld some more. The way I'm gonna do this is I'm just gonna add some more weld onto each of those, and then of course go another round, you know, make them a bit longer, all until eventually I got it all welded around and around. In the end, I will go ahead and weld this underside as well. But of course, the most important is this upper side, because it is the most visible. Let's carry on. Alright, check this out. I'm very pleased with the result we got here. It's not all the way perfectly flat, of course, but nothing that some filler couldn't fix. This is still the underside of the car anyways, so again, we're not gonna be complicating too much. So here you can see I've actually ground these welds away as well, so we get this nice edge as it would be, you know, like originally. And yeah, that's it. I've ground these welds here all the way too. And of course, the same thing on the other side. Pretty nice, if I do say so myself. Now I will cover these welds, you know, those ground spots here with that anti-corrosion base paint on the inside as well, and here of course. And then once that is all cured, then I will put some epoxy primer on there. And I'm very happy to say this actually concludes the welding work on the underside. Now we've actually reached the point when we can go and start painting the car down there. We will go ahead and paint all of this here, basically the whole underneath of the car. I'll be using again the epoxy primer I got there, and this time I will be painting it with the brush. I would actually prefer, you know, to just spray paint it, but in this case it might be even better to paint it with a brush, so I can really fill all the holes to really do the best job of rust prevention I can. So that's gonna be it for the underneath of the car. Here I will just be painting the welds here, and we'll be actually painting this side once we get to painting the upper side of the car. Then I got some minor bits to add here. I have to make these brackets here for the rear bumper. I will just make some new ones, I think, instead of using these rusty old ones. Then I will have to patch up this inner sill here. As you can see, we got some rust forming here already, which I will be eliminating. And yeah, this part here as well. Then I will be freshening all this up. And I do have to fix this part here. This is from back in the day when I crashed into that tree and it bent this piece a little. But yeah, first of all, let's paint the underneath and then we'll go from there.